So on that day we discussed about the blocking workflow, how the blocking workflow will work, like if any coin price quantity discrepancy comes. So we started doing configuration. So first, what is the configuration? We need to create a role for buyer and AP processor, and then we need to assign that role to blocked region, and then we have to assign the buttons to roll on the blocked region, and then rollout criteria. So first what we'll do, we'll go to the SAP. So we need to create a roles, right? So roles already created, CP underscore 9CX5. So role we need to create under LIX, blocked workflow, right? So GVIM, GVIM APS7. See, already a role is created, and we also created the buyer 7 on that day. Then we maintained all these users at this level, OPT CP underscore 9CX4 level. We have already maintained the users against this product code LIX. Okay. So next is we need to assign a blocked region. So blocked process configuration. So rollout criteria is like, so whenever you want to allow some company codes to trigger the workflow, and you do not want to allow some company codes to not to trigger the workflow, that particular configuration will be located here. So you want to allow blocking workflow, nothing but whenever a quantity mismatch or a price mismatch comes, you want to allow for that company code to trigger this workflow, so that it will go to a particular person, and then they'll release. And few of the company codes you don't want to trigger this workflow itself, means VIM workflow you don't want to trigger. So that also you can do that. Controlling part will be taken care at this point of time. So company code level and plant level, document type level. Document type is nothing but your KR, RE, YB. Certain documents you don't want to trigger the blocking workflow straightforward, you can release the invoices. That kind of settings will be there in the customer level. So for that, those kind of invoices also we can handle here. So rollout criteria is majorly to control the blocking workflow based on what criteria, for which company codes I want to trigger the blocking workflow. I can control based on the company code, plant and document type level. You understand, right? Next, blocking.
Yes.
Yeah. So block reason definition. So here block reason definition is like, we have 7 blocks standard, but we will use most of the times, and 95% we will use these two only. So remaining 5% maybe we may expect the other blocks, but process is same. So let's configure for price discrepancy. So we'll give our initial role. So we already given the initial actor you need to replace with your buyer 7. So we created a buyer 7, right? We need to replace with your buyer 7, so that whenever a price mismatch comes, it will go to the buyer. So buyer will speak to the supplier, then accordingly he will take a decision. Okay. So and then quantity mismatch, same way it also goes to buyer, or a store department guy. So usually both are same sometimes. So I kept a role here. So what will happen whenever a quantity block comes? So the workflow will go to this guy initially, then accordingly he can proceed further. So we provided two blocking reasons, and we also provided the block reason roles for that. Next is, we saw like how to create this process options. Same way, like copying and creating the process options, we written like how the referral button will be there, and how action button will be there, authorization button will be there. So here referral button we usually create. Action button is to take some action on a particular transaction code, so just to submit or reject, cancel, like this kind of. Authorization is nothing but we are authorizing behalf of us, someone is releasing the block or someone is canceling the invoice, like that authorizing. Because authorization button when we will use usually when the buyer's perspective means buyer is not the owner to release that invoice or to what cancel that invoice. So behalf of buyer, APS team will do. So that I will show you. So APS team usually cancel the invoice or authorize the invoice, all these kind of things will do. So authorization button will use like when we want to authorize someone to take action behalf of us. And we have uh, action, authorization, referral. So approve and reject, these buttons are dummy buttons at this point of time. So earlier it was used like approve means take some action, reject means some action. BDC action means you want to change some data, or you want to post some PO, or you change PO. Those kind of buttons will be available in this stage also. You can change PO, right? So that invoice, let's say invoice is blocked for quantity, but when we saw PO quantity is 15 and goods receipt quantity is 15, but invoice came for 20. So system is allowed and posted, and it is blocked for payment. Now, if they want to release the block, what they need to do? They need to first amend the PO, nothing but they need to make the PO to 20. After that, they need to post a goods receipt to balance the system. In the same way, those kind of buttons it will be useful. And workflow task, you want to go with some other activity based on certain workflow, then custom workflow, then you will go with this button. So we have all the buttons existing, pre-existing buttons. We no need to create anything new, so we can utilize this. So how to assign buttons to my role? So go to technical configuration, advanced process option configuration, under that PSS, process OST. Here we need to assign buttons to AP processor. First I will assign to buyer, VIM buyer, ZVIM buyer. So buyer buttons I'll copy, or I'll just create from like this. So block reason 1, from actor GVIM buyer 7 F4, from actor. And to actor we can keep first initially info provider if I want to. Yes, info provider. Okay, option type, here you are selecting the option type, that it is action button or referral button or authorization button. So here first what we'll take, referral button, because we are referring to info provider. The information you will get which type of so we have different buttons here. Select that info provider. So what this condition FM will do, I'll explain you. So next you provide some other buttons. What are the buttons required for buyer? So you can refer to some other, and GVIM buyer 7. So you can change PO, right? For change PO, BDC action, nothing but some data need to be changed. So here change PO, and I am giving another button post goods receipt. So price discrepancy, we don't require post goods receipt. Let's say we'll keep change PO and Next is BDC action, any button which is useful. We'll see. Post versus it. Directly we should not assign these buttons like delete invoice, change post invoice to buyer as per process, because buyer will not have any authorization in production related to deletion process. So what we will do now, we will authorize AP processor GVIM AP AP7 GVIM AP APS7 and button authorizer button, that is you're authorizing T, and buyer is authorizing AP processor to cancel the invoice, and we also same way pay as invoiced. And then next we assigned how many buttons? So 4 buttons we have assigned. So one is for change PO, one is for refer to info provider, 2 buttons for what we can say, authorizing AP processor. So here I refer to info provider. Now I need to refer back from info provider to this role, right? So that also I need to given. So that come back. So here I'll make one info provider 2 GVIM buyer buyer 7. So here referral button. So refer back to requester. Refer back to requester. Where is that? Refer to info provider is there. Refer with comments. Refer to tax expert. Send back. Shall I'll use this one, send back, or yeah, refer to buyer. So now in this case I want to show only whoever is referred, that particular guy only. So this will also like same process option level. We have a FM, right? It will control whether to display this button or hide this button. Dynamically it will do, because if you go to the info provider, I'll explain you this while we are executing the scenario. So here I've just assigned buttons to buyer. We no need to assign buttons to AP processor separately, because the buyer is the one, um, buyer is the one who is submitting the workflow and who is taking all the actions. If you want, then it will go to AP processor. So I'll just show you.
Ram, can you show again from where you got the function module?
Function module here only. See, condition FM. This is the condition FM, which is usually what they have written is like in this condition FM. So whoever is referred to this particular role, info provider, so we need to refer back to them. That is what the condition FM. So that is already predefined
Okay.
condition FM. So it will hide or display the buttons. Sorry, buttons. Yes, based on the condition FM.
Okay.
Same way, we'll create the buttons to blocked reason 2. Here also GMM buyer. So the first button I'll give is change PO, some BDC action, because here we do have PO change and post goods receipt, right? And then to block reason, post goods receipt. 3, refer to info provider. And then I will also do authorize. I'll just make this as authorized AP GVIM. So it is up to the customer requirement, which are all the buttons we need to show. So cancel the invoice, authorized to cancel the invoice, and oh, I've given something wrong here. From info provider to buyer 7, referral option, refer back to PO buyer. So I have created this many buttons. 2 are BDC action based, nothing but change PO, post goods receipt. One is to refer to info provider. Another one is again here will give condition FM. I'll show you what happens when condition FM is not there, what happens without. So I need to cancel this invoice. And another one is like I can release this invoice. So I can add one more button to buyer 7, release this invoice. So T, pay as invoiced. Pay as invoice is nothing but the release button. So I've assigned all these buttons now. So each scenario I've assigned five buttons. Yes.
Ram, what is the purpose for block reason 1, 2, what you maintained?
One is for price discrepancy and two is for quantity discrepancy.
Okay, okay, okay. Got it.
Like yeah. Any other questions?
No, it's okay.
Okay. So next we'll execute one scenario for price and one scenario for quantity. So let me give me one moment. So here we'll see the PO basically. First, we'll create a price discrepancy case. Then